Namaskar. Very good morning to all of you. Mr. Dwarkanath, I was highly indebted to the entire committee for having bestowed upon me this first ever Vivekananda Transformational Leader Award. I think the biodata which was read out, etc., I many times doubt whether I deserve all that what you have been saying. And Subrato, you have been doing a wonderful job in terms of getting industry and academia together and celebrating the interaction to collaboration to partnership between industry and academia. On this forum, when we heard the keynote address by Suresh Narayanan, Dwarkanath said that after that we should not be able to speak about HR. But I am saying that probably even chairman of AICT has no role to speak, because in about 1.5 hours, he almost dealt with everything that what is needed to be done by both academia as well as industry. And with fascinating examples from Nestle, but down to earth to any organization for that matter. And therefore, my role to speak now is absolutely limited to what all he said. To what extent we have been implementing, I would like to touch upon a few of those things. That's all what I can do. Well, he stressed emphasis on a couple of things, and I would like to deal with only those. First and foremost is about vision of the organization, but the values. The values the organization carries is most significant, whether you give some facilities or higher salary, pay packages, honoraria is not important. The work culture, the work ethics in an organization and the values that the organization follows is the most significant thing which Nestle has pointed out. Otherwise, an industry cannot survive for 150 plus years. And similarly, any academic institution or for that matter, any industry will not survive unless you have some core values which are dear to you and you follow them in letter and spirit. And that is the first thing which both academic institutions as well as industry have to follow. And also a small stint in Tata Consulting Engineers, the values that the Tatas carry also almost similar to what Suresh Narayanan talked about, and therefore that is also surviving despite all kind of odds, whether GDP comes up and goes down, whatever, doesn't matter, but some of these industries will always remain. So that is the first and foremost thing. The second thing, he talked about the diversity, that about women there were also questions raised. I think we must look at nature. It is full of diversity. There is no uniformity at all, whether you see in terms of different species, in terms of plants, in terms of different, organisms, in terms of different types of people, different geography, different climate. I think diversity is endowed by the nature and we have to respect it. And therefore, when about 50% of the population is women and 50% male, of course there may be some plus and minuses, we must respect this diversity, and there is uniform talent across the board, because God is not partial. He will give same talent to everyone. In fact, probably He has given more talent to women, and that's what is reflected in terms of many places where women are put in place. They do much better, because we often say that they are good at multitasking, which is difficult for men. They focus only on one thing at a time, but women are empowered with multitasking, and that's why in many organizations it is found that they do well. In terms of higher education, unfortunately, the gender equity ratio was poor from independence onwards, but I must tell you that this year's iShare report shows that we have crossed 1.01. That means number of women in the higher education are more than that of the men capability. That it has already crossed. Maybe in the industry workforce they are at around 22, 23, 25%. But when these graduates will come out, this equation will keep on changing just because of merit and not because of reservation. I think that's very, very important, which Suresh Narayanan had pointed out, I would like to re-emphasize on that. Secondly, in many institutions still where gender ratio is not, parity is not there, and women are only, especially in higher technical education, for example, in, say, IITs, NITs, and some of the engineering schools, the number of female students may be 30%, 40%, and the male students are 60%. I keep moving to convocations one after the other and graduation ceremonies, but the number of gold medals and ranks secured by the women are 70% and men are 30%. That itself also shows that there is a lot of talent that exists amongst women. But whatever little difference is there, we need to make it up. Diversity is not only in terms of the men and women, but diversity exists in terms of different varieties. In terms of, we used to call what is known as physically handicapped. The word is completely changing to, then it became physically challenged to physically enabled to finally, now the word used is Divyanga. I think we must also respect all variety of people to be brought into the organization. And Nestle was saying that they want to bring in some of these Divyangas into the organization. And at least as a regulatory body, out of all the regulatory bodies in India, I think I'm very proud that for the last 2 to 3 years, we have been consistently saying that unless there is accessibility to all physically challenged persons in the organization, the approval for continuation of the institution is not given. In fact, many institution heads came to me and said that we don't have a single person who is a physically challenged. Why should we have lift? Why should we have toilets which are enabled for the physically challenged people? My counter question to them was, since you do not have that facility, therefore students are not joining your institution. Why are you not looking the other way around? I think that is very, very critical. The third and most important thing he said is aspirations. In any organization or in a country, I think we have aspirations from every citizen. And that is why when our Prime Minister changed the word from the backward districts to aspirational districts, I think that's a big change. I think that is what we need to do, that we must look at every individual who is trying to aspire to go up the ladder in the organization, and we must provide that support system. I think that is the key, which was key takeaway from Suresh's talk, and I'm reiterating most of those things which he has said. Now, few things which he mentioned, probably many of you may not be aware, therefore I will just touch upon few of them and then leave at it. The curriculum revision is a very important thing when it comes to academia. We are creating not human resources, but human reinvigorating agents. And that's why I think what is significant is our curricula has to be up to date. On one side, we must certainly be proud of our culture and values, but we must go towards modernity, what is required by industry. Therefore, all the new jobs which are going to be created in the future, whether it is in AI, IoT, machine learning, deep learning, robotics, 3D printing, you have blockchain, you have data science. I think these have to become part of the curriculum, whether it is not just engineering, but also in architecture, pharmacy, arts, commerce, science, everywhere. And that part, we have started doing it. Having done this, our teachers who themselves graduated long time ago need to be retrained. They said, unlearn and learn was the philosophy used. We don't want to make them unlearn, let them learn whatever was there, but also keep moving ahead, and therefore continuous faculty development programs is the need of the hour, and we have set up what is known as AICT's Training and Learning Academies, Atal Academies, initially in 4 places, but now extended to another 11 states on the demand of the states, and there are 15 such academies around the year. All the programs in the upcoming niche areas will be trained to our teachers through industry experts as well as people from academia. So this is an ongoing process. The third most important thing which we have stated now is faculty certification program comprising of 8 modules. I would like to re-stress on this. Because many of the talk which we talk about whether it is values, whether it is how do you deal with our present day students, which are millennial students, Z generation and all that, I think our faculty need to be aware of all that. And that's why this certification program is of higher education. And unless a faculty goes through these 8 modules, he will not become a regular faculty. And so this is mandatory. The fourth important thing is industry internships. And unless a student goes to an industry, looks at what is happening, employability will not improve, and therefore mandatory internship, which has been pushed very hard. And my industry friends who are here, my appeal to them is provide as many students internship in your organizations as possible. Otherwise, many institutions say, we want to do it, but we don't have any wherewithal for that. And we have asked all the institutions to at least sign 5 MOUs with industries. So you have to also move forward. It cannot be only one-way traffic, So academic institutions should go towards industry, and industry also should come towards academic institutions. So this is very, very significant and important. The fifth one is a student induction program, a 3-week student induction program, whereby all the traits which we want in students in the 21st century are to be embedded at the root, and that is the basic foundation. That is what is being created, where values are going to be inculcated, where sports and culture is going to be given prominence, importance, where the new technologies are going to be given importance, and most important of all, the students who join an institution should become or start feeling ownership of the institution. So the ownership is most important. All the transformation which we talk about will only happen if that candidate who enters into an organization feels that this is my organization. As long as he feels that it is you and me, and I think that difference always will create that differential, and therefore this particular program is very, very relevant. Lastly, today we all talk about innovation, and without innovation, neither industry will survive, nor academic institutions will survive, nor a nation can survive. And that's why we started what is known as Smart India Hackathon 3 years ago, very, very prominent program in which problem statements from government departments, industries are given to students as challenge, and more than 200,000 students give their out-of-the-box solutions. We shortlist them to 10,000 students. In 48 different centers, non-stop, 36 hours, students solve those problems and are finally adopted by the industry, adopted by the government. I think what more you want from the students who are invigorated. Human resource invigoration begins from here. And therefore, lastly, this innovation is important. Therefore, MHRD has instituted an MHRD Innovation Cell in AICTE. It is led by one of the persons drawn from the industry, coming here in AICTE, Government of India, on secondment, salary being paid by the company and working for the government. And through that particular set of people, we are encouraging innovation in almost all the institutions. Out of 10,000 odd institutions, 1,500 institutions have come forward. There is an innovation committee comprising of some passionate faculty members, some students, some alumni, some industries nearby. And every month, some challenge is given to students to come out of the box solution for various problems that they are facing. I think innovation is the key. And thankfully, the efforts which have been undertaken has catapulted India in the Global Innovation Index from the 81st position 5 years ago to today 52nd position. But the kind of innovative spirit that we have in our organizations, I'm sure that we must be in the top 20 and 10 within no time. With these few words, I conclude and thank the organizers for having bestowed upon me this honor. And I would like to be true to this honor and try to continue to do as best as possible for the upbringing of the technical education in the country. Thank you.